Hello, yes, my name's Darren Taylor from London. This story is about my journey, why I now run 5 libraries. So it's from not having a future at school to running 5 libraries, loathing books to loving books, and it starts at primary school, from school reports telling me that I was lazy and I needed to concentrate more. It was, my handwriting was bad as well because I tried to copy all the other children. They were writing right-handed, but I was actually left-handed. And I was never diagnosed with dyslexia. Then I moved up to secondary school, and again, I was never diagnosed. I used to hide at the back of English lessons because I didn't want to be chose to read out from a book. And then I was thinking, I'm not stupid, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't read. And at the end of my school years, I was failing my exams. I had a meeting with the careers department, and they asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to work in computers, I want to have my own business, and I want to be a vet. And they said, you need to dumb down your ideas. You're failing all your GCSEs, you're getting a U in computer studies. So I left there, feeling down, but determined to prove them wrong. So I went into action, looking for work. I was just determined to get that job in IT. Also, I wanted to get a job in the city wearing a suit. Why? Because my nickname at school was Tramp. I was from a poor background. And at the age of 16, I went into a YTS, a youth training scheme, working in IT as a computer operator in the city, wearing a suit. And within 8 months of the 2 years, they took me on full-time. And within 14 years, I was an IT manager of one of the biggest marketing companies in Europe. When I was 21, I fell in love. My friends said she was above my league. She was studying law. Their parents were educated. They had a house in the south of France. They had thousands of books in their house. One day, my fiance's mother gave me a book to read, Jane Eyre. And I thought, oh gosh, this is when they find out that I'm stupid and I'm going to get dumped. Love took over, and I bought a dictionary and thesaurus, and it took me 2 weeks of constant reading in all my spare time to be able to read that book, and I gave that book back to her and I enjoyed it. And she continuously gave me books from Enigma, The Queen and I, Great Expectations, and I learnt to read. And I thought, why did this not happen to me when I was younger? And myself and my fiancée, then we got a flat and we moved in with each other. Within 3 months, she left me for someone else. That was good. I went travelling for 2.5 years. And what that did for me was brilliant, because what it did is I saw poverty around the world. I'd become this materialistic monster earning a big salary, and actually I saw poverty around the world. So when I came back, I wanted to help people. And so I started a charity recycling computers, and that's why the name Eco Computers, where I had partnerships with Microsoft. We were taking donations of computers, and we were rebuilding them, and then I was giving to people that couldn't afford them. The problem was, I then learned that actually a lot of these people didn't know how to use them. This was 13, 14 years ago. So we started doing one-to-one. I got a shop, and we started doing one-to-one lessons on how to use computers. We then went and we outgrew that building within 8 months. I got a second building from the council and rented that. And within 2 weeks, I outgrew that building and went back to the council and said, have you got a bigger building? They thought I was mad. But they introduced me to a housing association who had a building. But they wanted £30,000 a year rent. But I fell in love with this building. It was a lovely listed building on the River Thames. And I looked down and I saw a letter saying the old library. And this brought back memories that Lewisham had closed down 7 libraries in the 90s. And 2 of them I used to attend. I used to just pretend to read the books because there used to be one opposite my school. We used to just cross the road and it was great. And also my dad worked in a bus garage next door to a library where my auntie was a library assistant. And in the summer holidays he used to get fed up with me ringing the bell, so he used to put me in there. And I just used to people watch, and I used to see people coming into these libraries needing these buildings. Pensioners, people with babies, and it brought back all these memories. And I just thought, these buildings are needed because people need localism. That primary school couldn't go 20 minutes walk down to that big library that had been built which closed down these smaller ones. And so I then, out of the blue, sometimes I just talk and don't think, and I just turned around and said, I'm going to reopen this as a library. There's going to be a cafe in here. There's going to be computers for free in this building. And in the basement, we'll use that for the recycling project, which will fund the upstairs. And then what we did was we went and... Sorry, I was just getting distracted by the time. And we then told them that's what we were going to do. And instead of them charging me £30,000 a year rent, they charged me £36 a year rent. And I had an empty building, and now I've got to do what I said I was going to do. So we spoke to Lewisham Council. They gave me some bookshelves and books. They told me to get Excel spreadsheets to do all the loans and membership and everything. I thought, yeah, okay. My background was IT, so I went and purchased a very cheap library management system that cost me $80. And we did it. We had the library in there, we had computers in there, we had a cafe in there, we had the basement with the recycling project. And then we had a soft launch, but then 5 months later we had a big launch, and it was just at the time, 2 weeks before, they'd announced that they were closing 5 libraries. And I just joked with the head of libraries at this launch, saying, I'll run one of the libraries for you. He said, can you put that in writing? I said, well, I'm dyslexic, so it will just be bullet points, so telling you how we're sustainable. And then that went to Mayor and Cabinet to announce that they were going to tender it out to community groups to take on the running of these. Now, I sat on the fence with this because I'm like, no, libraries should be run by the council. And I really sat on the fence with this. But then I'm sitting there thinking, but I don't want these to be empty buildings and turned into houses in the future. But it was one man that made me say, no, I need to do this. He came to my library just 1 hour a day. He was on an oxygen machine. And one day he said to me, this is a lifeline for me, this building. I don't have anywhere else to go. It's a place where I can communicate with people, talk to people. And that was it. I said yes. And you imagine, I've got 20,000 people campaigning against these closures. This was 9-10 years ago. And all of a sudden, I'm getting heckled and things. But then all of a sudden, the campaigners came to my library, and I gave them tasty lattes and cake and things like that. And they saw all the books as well. And then they were like, OK, this could work. I had someone come who helped me write the business plans, and we put in a bid for 4 libraries, and we were given 3 of those libraries. And I'm a bit of a nutter. Lewisham asked me, we're going to close them on this date, when are you going to reopen them? I said, the working day afterwards. And also, we're not going to close for lunch anymore. And they reopened, and it was a lot of volunteers, but then gradually we increased our staff because actually I saw that we needed sustainability, and also the volunteers now do a lot of different things. Digital inclusion, they do a lot of pop-up cinemas and all the other things that are needed to make thriving buildings. We then went and one of the things I asked the people that were campaigning is, are you using these libraries? And a lot of the people weren't even using the libraries. And that was frustrating for me. And I said, why not? Well, books are so cheap. So the first thing I did, I took a counter away that was the size of 3 of these tables and reduced that and actually created a bookshop, which we turn over £60,000 a year from that bookshop. So I thought, well, if you don't want the free books, then you can come and buy some then. and it's interesting because it's... Sorry, I've gone totally off my talk now, because that's the thing with me. With dyslexia, I don't normally do this, and I normally just talk from the heart. And we've taken on a few more buildings in Bexley as well. But one of the big things I did was I turned down £250,000 to be on the library management systems. Because for me, it's key that you've got those relationships with the council. So then actually I've got the professionalism of book ordering and stock. So that Lewisham and Bexley supply our stock for us. So they then are actually doing the hard work of knowing what people want and need. And I think, for me, libraries are about empowering people. It's about lifting people up. And our organisation now, last year we helped 30 community interest companies to start up. Last week I just helped 5 community interest companies start up. And what they're doing, it's brilliant for the library because they're delivering projects within the libraries, of which we're helping them to get funding, which then they pay rent into the building. They're getting paid for delivering services like we've got mental health projects, we've got pop-up cinemas, and these people just come with all these ideas. And it's how we can help those as well. But we do have volunteers that come in as well, like we've got bridge clubs, coding clubs, ESOL lessons, listening sessions, money management, bingo, coffee mornings, baby bounce. And that was interesting there about your charging. Well, 2 stories here. The first one was the first week of taking on one of these libraries, there was a baby bounce session and someone came into the office and said, Darren, the person who normally leads on baby bounce hasn't turned up. And he said, we're going to have to cancel it. And I said, no, we won't. Get me a book, I'll do it. And I tell you what, I was more petrified than what I am now of these little beady eyes staring at me. And I had to read the book before for, oh gosh, I don't want to make a mistake reading this thing correctly as well. And then all of a sudden singing the songs, they had changed since I had done it as well, row, row, row the boat. I didn't ever read about crocodiles. But then actually what happened was the parents actually kind of took it over. And they actually started then deliver it. And it's interesting about charging. We had about 60, 70 people coming with their children to these baby bounds. I got frustrated that not many of them were taking out books. I got frustrated. I thought, right, I'm going to charge them for this, but if they take out books, they can come for free. I could have got a play bus to be singing songs and things like that. I want these children touching and feeling books. And so we're looking at implementing that yes, it's chargeable, but if you take out books, then you can have them for free. To encourage them parents to have books for children, because I don't want them going through what I went through at school. And I've got 2 children now, 5 and 7, and we've got millions and millions of books around our house. I have to read, so I was working till late. My child would have to stay up till 9, 10 o'clock some nights because she was waiting for Daddy to come home to read to her. And my child has got books galore. And you can teach children to read. You've just got to give them that passion. It's like you can get senior citizens online, even though they say we don't want to. As soon as you show them the passion. So our first client was about, what hobbies you've got? She liked baking bread. So I just put her on Google and showed her how to get recipes. She then loved it and fell in love with it, the internet. You've got to look at that passion and get those passions from these people. income streams. How do we make money? I've said one was bookshops, rental. We've got hot desks because we've got spaces that weren't being used. There's so much space in these buildings sometimes, and every little inch of that needs to be generating income. So we've got virtual postbox. We've got hot desking. The upstairs was something we had to renovate the upstairs because it was in the buildings we took on were in massive disrepair and we had full maintenance and repair leases. We don't get paid anything for running libraries. I have to make money to do it, and we had to massively go and fix these buildings with roofs leaking, a tree growing in an office, water penetration in the walls, and we've had to manage to do that with me just looking around for pennies on the floor all the time. But it's so now we're renting out offices upstairs because we've renovated that. We encourage community groups, so we've got community pricing so that they can afford to do things, so it's affordable for the local people as well. Films is our big thing. I know Edinburgh is a big place for having films, recordings here. One of my libraries is opposite a ballroom, a really famous ballroom, which is being used for films. So we've managed to close on a couple of days just so we can get money to fix the roof, where we've had Judi Dench in my library and things like that. And yes, and it's doing that. But then what we've done is we've opened up on other days where we would have been closed to compensate for those hours lost. We've got commercial. We make money off commercial. Partnerships, we've got partnership. NatWest has given us some money to install cafes. Co-op gave us some money. Barclays gave us their Premiership trophy, where everyone came in having pictures with the trophy to donate money. And we've also got housing associations. We work with 15 housing associations who give us money for projects. So we've got a cafe academy where we were teaching. So we installed cafes into the libraries. At affordable prices, because we didn't want to be like across the road where it's £20 for a sausage roll and a latte. It's affordable so that people that can't afford it can actually come in and stay for longer. And so what we did was then the people that work beyond the cafe are on a training course where they get a barista MVQ, they get customer service MVQ, they get also, we help them with their applications for work as well, and then also they get in work experience as well, so we then help them get into jobs. There is many things. Like I said, we've got a pop-up cinema now where we have 100 pensioners coming from care homes, which is beautiful. They have an afternoon tea, they then watch a film afterwards, and it's beautiful. And I would say about 70% of them, like I say, are coming out from care homes, and about 15% of them have got dementia as well. And it is lovely. We do a lot of digital inclusion. We don't do it anymore because I was doing it the way it's now been done now 10 years ago, and what happened was the market comes saturated with loads of people that want to do digital inclusion. So what we've done is we've empowered all these people to do the digital inclusion, which then we just take money for the rents instead, and we empower people. Like I say, employability, we were doing that as well, but now we're actually helping other social enterprises to start up for them to do it, so that we're not trying to fix all the problems in society. And someone did it for me, to empower me and to help me through this, and everyone could empower someone. I've got 6 minutes left, so I'm going to ask if anyone's got any questions. I know this is unusual, but I know there's probably burning questions out there that I would love to know if anyone's got a question for me. But,
when you do your films for the older folk, do you charge them? Or do you
no, they don't pay. So a local housing association loved it so much. We invited also the mayor, of which then also they kept giving donations to it. It's not a massive costly thing to run. Yeah. It's I think the biggest cost we put was putting the blackout blinds in and also the equipment at first. But then it's not a massive cost to do it. And it is so rewarding. And so I'm kind of offsetting some other money to be able to keep it going. And that's what I do sometimes when I see so we look at our buildings, the usage by age. So then I looked, and one of our buildings, I was looking and thinking, well, we're doing a lot of stuff for under fives, we're doing a lot of stuff for youth, we're doing a lot of stuff we need to do more for the seniors here. So that's why we then did some projects, of which then we've now given that over to other people that are actually delivering it. So we're just an enabler. Hello.
Can I ask a wee bit about what you do for youth? Because obviously teenagers are the big challenge for us.
It is a big challenge. I mean, for us, I mean, it is tough for the libraries. I mean, one of our buildings, we do encourage where we've got halls in the building as well, and we've got a youth club in there and things like that. It is something I think everywhere is struggling with. Youth services have been cut, so we're looking at how we can do that. At the moment, we've got in one building which can facilitate that, we've got youth clubs, but we're not able to do much in the libraries at the moment. We're looking for solutions, and I keep reading all the time to find if anyone's piloted something to see what we can do, but hearing anything from anyone I would love to know. I mean, things we do is like the under fives, we do the summer reading challenge. That's why it's the benefit of being part of the library services, because we're able to do all the things that libraries do. They've got the library cards in our libraries, so that means they can do all the online things. And I think there are some things, and I think youth is one of the biggest, hardest ones of everything at the moment. Even youth clubs are struggling because of them people not coming and just hanging around on streets and things like that. And that's one of the things we are looking at with some partners at the moment.
Had a film offer specifically for them?
Pardon?
Have you had a film offer specifically for teen?
We haven't yet. We haven't. We tried to do it with the youth club to say, right, youth clubs, we've got the technology, use it, please, so that we can just give it to them and give them the room to do this. So then they've got the capabilities of doing that. We've done a family one in the school holidays. It's trying to get more things on in the school holidays, because that's one of the things, me having children as well, is how do you actually what do you do with your children in the school holidays? So we've put on, we've now got film clubs for families in the school holidays. We've got bike riding courses in the school holidays as well. So we kind of come up with these things, but teenagers are the one I'm struggling with. Hello.
Thank you so much for the wonderful story. It was a really, really, really good story. I was just wondering myself, like, how do you nourish your IT brain? Because you spend all this time doing wonderful work creating these libraries.
How do I nourish my IT brain?
Yes.
I mean, I've got a lot of cloud-based systems for my staff and for the rotors, for communication and things like that. I must admit, I've kind of like going back to books with my children. I think at the moment, I don't want my children on technology as much, because I think it's quite scary, I think, where you've got news reports of 5% of 3-year-olds have got mobile phones, 50% of 10-year-olds have got mobile phones. Public Health England have just announced last week that children shouldn't be using mobile phones, and I just worry that there's an addiction that's going. And I think so. We've formed something within my organisation where we're doing a lot of research into making sure technology is safe, and that's one of the things we are looking at and doing. And children learn through playing. But I think if you look at what's going on, children are getting addicted to technology, and that's why I encourage books. My children do not touch a mobile phone, and I've reduced, I must admit, my technology. I've reduced it and gone back to basics of talking with people, speaking, because one day I'm going to be in a care home and I don't want to talk to my children over Skype. And so I'm going kind of backwards, because years ago I was doing digital inclusion where we were installing computers into communal areas in sheltered homes. And now I look and I think, hold on a sec, I'm actually giving people an excuse not to go and visit their parents. And so I'm looking and researching this now to look at, are we going too far and are we pushing things too quickly, instead of actually saying, let's really think about this, because there are benefits to it, because I've been in technology and digital for many, many years, and I do see the benefits of health and isolation and things like that, but also I do look at it's having that balance. And I've got 1 second left. So thank you so much. Thank you.